Is it? It's
Pod
Blast
Flashback time!
Good evening. Chance Bartels with you with the nostalgic Pod Blast Flashback. This is something new that I'm doing. I'm going to start doing this on Wednesday nights moving forward. It's Tuesday night, of course, live. I wanted to start at 11 o'clock, had some technical hiccups I had to work out, so sorry about being a little late, but I have a good one for you today. We used to be on a radio station in Atlanta, 50,000 watt AM station called WTZA. And I was on Saturdays for 2 hours, and it was a great show. And what we would do is we would play a previously recorded podcast, and then we'd have like a live wraparound where we could take calls and things like that and interact with the listeners. And it was a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do is play the live radio portion of our tribute to The Honeymooners, one of my favorite sitcoms of all time, which of course started as a live skit on the Jackie Gleason Show. Started in 1951. Don't want to talk about too much. It'll be covered in the show later. But it started as a skit with Jackie Gleason as Ralph Cramden, the bus driver. And Pert Kelton played Alice originally in 1951 to 1952. And it was on the struggling Dumont Network. And then in 1952, the Jackie Gleason Show went to CBS, and Jackie Gleason inked a huge contract. He was paid a lot of money to join the team at CBS. They really wooed him with some stacks of cash. And Pert Kelton had developed a heart condition, so she was replaced. And she, of course, really complimented Jackie, I think, in the looks department. They were equals. Audrey Meadows came along to take over the role, and she auditioned a couple times because Jackie deemed her as too pretty for the part. And so the second time she auditioned, Jackie didn't even recognize her because she got her hair all gussied up and she didn't wear any makeup, and she looked like she just rolled out of bed intentionally. And that worked. And she booked the role of Alice Cramden for live television. Now, most people know The Honeymooners as having 39 episodes, at least until 1984. There were 39 episodes when The Honeymooners went to another network, the Dumont Network, and I have them behind me. Those that are watching on YouTube Live, you can see, and I'll explain these visual aids in the background later, but I have the DVD set of the classic 39 episodes of The Honeymooners, which were filmed. They were still recorded before a live audience, but they weren't technically live. They were recorded on film instead of on video. Now, in 1984, Jackie Gleason shocked the world when he held a press conference announcing that he had found in his vault a bunch of film of lost episodes of The Honeymooners. And these weren't really lost. I think it was Jackie Gleason's retirement fund. These actually were filmed when they were live in the 1950s using a process that's known as a kinescope, in which a video monitor, like you'd find, in a TV studio, basically it's a TV set, there'd be a video monitor up in the studio, and Jackie would have a 16 millimeter film camera rolling on that monitor. And he had the audio piped into the camera, and that's what was called a kinescope. And kinescopes survive to this very day. So at this press conference, Jackie shocked the world. He says, I have hundreds of Honeymooner skits. And really, I like the live skits better than the classic 39 in many instances. And the 39 classics remade a lot of the live skits. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But here's a little preview of what we will be listening to today. Let me find this for you guys. Yeah. Here's a preview. This was an actual promo that we had recorded for the Honeymooners. Let's see if I can find it right fast, quick. Here it is. This is a nice little teaser for the radio program that I had written that a gentleman named Al Hardy had produced.
Are you old enough to remember this?
You are a blabbermouth! A blabbermouth! You blabbermouth! Out!
If you remember that, tune in Saturday at 2 p.m. for the nostalgic pop culture pop blast. This week, the classic sitcom The Honeymooners and the comedy great of Jackie Gleason is remembered. Join us for interviews with the stars, classic clips, and tons of laughs. Plus your phone calls. That's the nostalgic pop culture pop blast. Saturdays at 2 p.m. right here on Talk of Atlanta, WTZA 102.1 FM, 1010 AM, and talkofatlanta.com.
Right. So that's what we're going to listen to in just a moment. And I called it the nostalgic pop culture pop blast. I wanted to change it for the radio for terrestrial radio. I wanted it to differentiate between the nostalgic pod blast, which we had done as a podcast on YouTube and in Facebook Live. So that's why the name's a little bit different there. But I guess I'll go ahead and get started, and feel free to call in later live. I'm going to be with you live. The number is 770-438-1050. That's 770-438-1050. If you want to call in, and I'll announce the phone number later if you have some favorite Honeymooners moments you want to discuss. So without further ado, here's the radio version of the Nostalgic Pod Blast number 3, the tribute to the Honeymooners. And I have some new material for you after this segment, this long segment.
Money? Don't fight the
Here's a
state
little bit of a
income tax
commercial.
board alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you. The state is much more aggressive than the IRS in collecting taxes. They have the power to take your home, your car, your driver's and business licenses, even garnish your wages, freeze your bank accounts, and go after your spouse. Solve all your
Little free
tax
advertising
problems permanently and keep more of your hard-earned money. Make this 100% guaranteed risk-free call right now.
800-605-4650. 800-605-4650. 800-605-4650. That's 800-605-4650.
Okay, I'm going to mute this because I should have edited out these commercials. I don't want to get in trouble or give free advertising to any of these sponsors of WTZA. I'll get back with it in just a minute. Behind me now, folks on YouTube, you'll see one of the original videotapes. That's volume 1 of MPI Home Videos released from 1985 of the lost episodes of The Honeymooners. And that was after the Showtime run in 1984. These debuted on Showtime, paid cable service. Hang on a second. All right. Still some commercials going there. And then next to that is a book that I cherish. I've read a lot of books on the Honeymooners, and that is a great book from 1987 called The Honeymooners Lost Episodes. It's got a great analysis and history of the Honeymooners Lost Episodes and the classic 39 episodes. And then this in 2011 was released. This is a great set, the 60th anniversary of the Honeymooners, which is now 70th anniversary. Can you believe it? 70 years. Wow. Since the debut in 1951. But that is a comprehensive set on DVD. Highly recommend it. Talk about it later. Let me just keep an eye on this. Yeah. So, and then there's an MPI home video box set. You see, there's Ralph Cramden driving the bus with his wife and his best buddy, Ed Norton, and Ed Norton's wife, Trixie. And then there's a classic 39 DVD set next to that. So
it's guaranteed to
hang
work.
on.
QWLC.
Just about ready to get started here.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors,
I'll let this
by
PSA
serving
play.
them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
I got to do this first. This is WTZA, Decatur, Atlanta. Chance, you know what time it is?
It's Pop Blast time. Welcome back to the nostalgic pop culture pop blast. I'm Chance Bartels, and my co-host is Mr. Al Hardy running the board.
And we still have Danny Huff. It's a Billy Brew here.
Billy Brew is sitting in for a bit with us, and we are live 678-996-1776.
And today we're going to be talking about.
Well, we'll reveal that in a second. Hold on
Wait a
now.
minute.
Hold on. I was going to say, I want to remind people this is our third episode, and
Right.
this is Atlanta's very first radio program that champions pop culture. From collectibles to music to film and food, we cover it all. We are live at the Oxygen Financial Studios in Duluth. So,
He's a
Al,
great reader.
ah,
Anyway, it's just like, no, when we got fired from Cumulus May 31st, we didn't have anything to do. So what happened was we got together and decided, well, let's do a podcast. Everybody's doing a podcast, but nobody was doing a podcast on pop culture. And so that's how it all came about. We were unemployed.
let's get Billy a mic. Where's that handheld mic? Hey, we got some breaking news in the pop culture world that's pretty sad.
What's that?
Peter Tork has passed away from the Monkees, the bassist from the
Oh,
Monkees
yeah.
television
Well,
show.
They've only got maybe, how many's left of that group?
It's Mickey and Mike. That's it.
Hang on. Now your mic's on. Go ahead.
It's Mickey and Mike. That's it.
You know what my favorite Monkey song is?
Hmm.
Daydream Believer.
Really?
I like
Yeah,
that one.
I love that song. I just like,
I like more of the Mike
Daydream
Nesmith stuff,
Believer.
though. I like his stuff. I'm a little more deeper.
and then Neil Diamond wrote one of their hit songs. I can't remember which one it
I'm a
was.
believer.
I'm a believer. He wrote that. Yeah. And so,
I'm a huge Monkeys fan.
but Peter
I'm not
Tork,
proud- I'm not proud to say.
you really know your age when people you grew up with are kind of like, oh my God, they're not here anymore.
When William Shatner passes away, people will go bat poop crazy.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be National Day of Mourning, even though he's Canadian.
Yeah, he is Canadian. That's
now,
true.
I
Oh,
never
Canada.
was a Star Trek fan, but I do like
Yeah.
William Shatner.
Well-
I do. I think he's he's a great talent. I mean, I just loved him on those commercials for what
Priceline.
Priceline. Yeah.
Priceline.com.
They-
He
they
doesn't
free
take
plug.
himself too seriously, even though he comes across as taking himself seriously. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the inside
Right.
shtick or something.
But I loved him. He was in an episode of Twilight Zone.
Oh, he was in a couple of them.
Yeah,
Nick of
I mean-
Time, where he was in that diner and it had a little like fortune teller device with a little devil head,
Right.
and he got wrapped into fortunes, putting money in the machine, and got sucked into that world. But his most famous was Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, where he saw the creature on the wing of the plane that they
That's
remade
the one
in the
I
movie.
remember
That
the
was
most.
him. On
That
the
was
original
William
one?
Shatner in the original, and they remade it with John Lithgow playing
Yeah.
that character in Twilight Zone, the movie,
Yes.
in 1983. And there was a big lawsuit about that movie because
There was?
really Vic Morrow was
Vic Morrow.
beheaded by helicopter blades
I
in a
remember that.
terrible stunt,
Yeah.
and 2 children, Vietnamese actors, were killed.
I've never
Vietnam
I've never
segment.
seen that movie.
Oh, it's excellent. Albert
Is
Brooks is in it.
Is it good?
Oh my God, Dan Aykroyd's in it. I like
Yeah.
it. I mean,
was
Scatman
different.
Crothers,
I
Steven
always liked him.
Spielberg directed one of the segments, Kick the Can.
Right.
Anyway, it had 4 of the original Twilight Zone segments reenacted.
And
So last week we discussed classic and current game shows. Well, this week we'll talk about, Al, what does Mr. Saturday Night mean to you? Or Billy, when you hear the
that's Billy.
term Mr. Saturday Night,
Oh, I know. I remember Billy Crystal.
how
doing
about the
movie.
great one? That's right, 1992, a movie
Mhm.
called Mr. Saturday. Well,
I really enjoyed
I'll
it.
tell you, Jackie Gleason.
Oh yeah.
Well, he had the TV show from Miami.
He did.
The Jackie
The Jackie Gleason Show. He was on CBS
Yeah.
from 1952 to 1970.
the American Scene magazine or something like
Yep,
that.
he moved to
Okay.
Miami in the color years, but originally it was in New York City, and it was on Saturday night, and everything shut down when the Jackie Gleason Show started. And one of the things we're going to talk about is the Honeymooners, and that was a sketch from the Jackie Gleason Show.
And the famous 39 episodes.
The classic 39.
The classic 39 are the best. And he actually stopped. The show was so successful, but he just stopped doing it. He said we made some great shows. That's it. He didn't do any more after the.
And they went out on top.
Yeah, went out on top.
He
That's the
sure
way to do
did.
it. That's the way to do it.
And we're going to cover some of his film roles memorable, like Sheriff Buford T. Justice and Smokey and the Bandit. I'm going to barbecue your ass.
You know what movie he made with Paul Newman?
The Hustler.
Yeah.
The Pool Shark.
Yeah, he played Fats.
That's
Was it-
right.
it was
Fats Domino. And he, I think,
No,
what-
not Fats Domino. He played Minnesota
Minnesota
Fats. Minnesota Fats. Fats Domino's a singer. Correction corner. Chance made a mistake. Chance made a mistake.
Shocker, shocker. Well, I'm just reading this here. Comedian Jackie Gleason was dubbed Mr. Saturday Night in the early days of television because of his intense popularity. He has also been called the Great One, the Abominable Showman, and Mr. Miami Beach. Reportedly, when the Jackie Gleason show on CBS from 52 to 70 aired on Saturday night. Supermarkets had a decline in dollar revenue. There was less traffic on the streets, and theater managers reported a drop in business at the movie theater. So,
What famous line that Jackie Gleason says that you remember most?
To the moon.
You want to go to the moon, Alice? Bang, zoom.
That's right.
It's just
or you are a mental case. That's what he would say to Norton, his buddy, the sewer worker.
I was not alive at the time, but I can imagine he was the biggest thing in entertainment at that time.
He was.
Possibly.
Now, I don't remember the Honeymooners per se because I was too young, but I remember watching his variety show where he had all of these great characters. You know, he had Rum Dum and what was some of the other?
There were several, and we talk about it in the recorded portion of today's show. But yeah, he had so many great characters, and he had Rudy the Repairman,
right,
and he had the Poor Soul, which was a mute character, a sad sack character,
sad, but it was funny.
But they would use great music because he had a great band, and he had the June Taylor Dancers.
Well, you know, Jackie Gleason could not read a note of music, but he had some great albums that came out. I have some at home.
Probably some good instincts.
Right. You know, he just knew music. He couldn't read it, but he could just and
we're going to play some of them today. We have a lot of clips, a lot of interviews with the stars of the Jackie Gleason Show and the Honeymooners. It'll be entertaining for those that have never seen the Honeymooners. Well, you might want to make a drink and just give us a listen.
Any of
we
the
got some good stuff coming.
Does MeTV run those now? They
do
did for a while.
Sunday night, once a week, I believe at 10:30 p.m. And you can get MeTV. The affiliate is in Toccoa, but I think there's an Atlanta affiliate.
WUPA's got 69
UPN's. Yeah,
69.
It's not UPN
4 or
anymore.
5.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
CW.
The CW.
69.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, I love MeTV and all those retro. You watch those retro channels?
Actually, I do.
Yeah.
I have an old soul, and I'm old too, but I do love it. I mean,
do you know who we can thank for all of that stuff? Because when Ted Turner bought Channel 17, ran all those old shows, it kind of now look at all the networks that it's on these sub-carrier channels that run these old shows.
And you know what I like, Al, to that point?
What?
On Comcast, MeTV is Channel 17.
On
Comcast.
On Comcast, it is.
But you can get it for free over the air with a digital receiver. Anyone can get it in the Atlanta area. But here's some of the characters Jackie portrayed in Jackie Gleason Show. The Poor Soul, who we mentioned, who was a silent, well-meaning lad in an uphill battle with life. Joe the bartender, the obnoxious. Actually, he was a gregarious bartender who carried a monologue with regular characters. And Charlie the loudmouth. This is one of your favorites, Reggie Van Gleason.
Reginald Van Gleason.
That's what I was thinking of. Had that little
mustache. Yep. And he had the little high hat and all that sort of stuff. It was great.
And he played, no offense, this was just a character named Pedro the Mexican. He played the Bachelor, Rum Dum.
Rum Dum was good too. You know,
so many. And Ralph Cramton.
You know, guys that are big with big bellies on them. You know, they're funny.
They are.
You know, he was
incredibly physical.
Yeah, he was very
as far as physical comedy.
Yeah,
Belushi, Chris Farley, hugely physical.
And we'll get back on track, but go ahead.
Didn't he get hurt? And
he broke a leg.
He broke a leg in one of his,
And Art Carney speaks about that on our pre-recorded segment we're about to play. You'll hear a rare interview with Art Carney discussing where Jackie broke his leg. But Billy, while you're here, I know you got to run soon.
Sure.
Trending on Twitter this week was this question: name a movie that traumatized you as a child. And so I want to ask that of you guys, and if you need to think a second, I can tell you about mine, or do you know off the top of your head which movie?
I know which one. I was thinking about that because he asked me the other day.
Traumatized. I remember The Exorcist was a little iffy, but I got truly scared, and I think it was just the way it was presented, was The Shining. It wasn't blood and gore. It was just so suspenseful to me.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Well,
good. Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, and
what a prolific director.
And when the kid's going down the hallway of the hotel, and you don't know what's around the next corner. Don't know around. Yeah, instead of just, when Scatman Crothers got hatcheted,
Oh man,
I found that's kind of gratuitous.
I found that movie very disturbing.
Yeah,
I watched it. I didn't care for it too much.
So you never watched it again?
No, I don't.
He didn't care for it.
The movie that traumatized me. I like animals. I love dogs. I mean, I like any kind of animal. The one that traumatized me was Old Yeller.
Yeah.
His name, because at the end they had to shoot the dog, and that was just that just killed me. I never got. I mean, as a kid, you don't. It's just that's sad.
And they didn't have any warnings. PG something. They
no,
said, here's your movie.
I had no idea, and to this day, I don't watch that movie ever.
We had to watch that in elementary school on a projector, 16 millimeter films, like movie of the week, and I'm like, what's going on here? This is sad. But the movie that traumatized me was a movie from 1975 called Bug. with Bradford Dillman. You may not have heard of it, but it actually got wide release as a Paramount picture. And what happens in
I saw that.
takes place in California. There's a huge earthquake, and all these prehistoric bugs are released to the surface, and they can start fires spontaneously. Sounds corny,
They
but
look
there were
like
some
big roaches.
they were disgusting beetle type roaches.
Yeah.
And there was a scene where a woman, the bug gets on the receiver of a phone. She picks up the phone and it gets into her ear and sets her hair on fire, and she dies. And this is sad too. I probably shouldn't mention this on the radio, but it attacks a cat. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, and hopefully back then they had the Humane Society, and it just looked too real. But I have had a fear.
They actually ran that the other day on Comet TV.
And it's run on Movies, a sub channel.
Right.
Who has Movies? Is that WAGA sub channel?
That's channel 5.2.
Right. WAGA
GA.
TV, a great TV station in Atlanta. But Bug, if you ever see that, those bugs, I still have a little semi fear of roaches to this day because of that movie Bug. It traumatized the heck out of me.
Yeah, roaches are nasty, aren't they? I guess
They'll outlive us
you know
all.
I can take spiders over roaches.
Really?
Yeah,
Me too. I can take snakes, anything. I just don't like roaches.
I don't like snakes either.
But and the other thing in the news, did you hear about Steven Spielberg's adopted daughter?
I've read that this morning.
Did you
Very
know what I'm talking about, Al?
interesting.
Well, yeah, he has an adopted daughter. She's black, but she got
She's
into
gonna
the
do it-
adult film business.
Thank you for not saying the word that rhymes with corn. But yes,
she got in the adult.
and
film
I'll get out of
business.
this topic, but I was just going to say, I mean, the thing about her is I think she's just crying out for help or attention or something because look, she's got missing teeth. I mean, she's not attractive. Let's just say she's not. I mean, I think that whole story
Well, I
is
don't
just.
think you have to be that attractive to be in adult movies, do you?
But who wants? But
yeah.
you do if you want someone to see them. Anyway, enough said on
Do
that,
they
but-
look at faces? I don't know.
And another thing, guys, I think you're probably familiar with this. This is another pop culture subject, and we'll get back to the subject at hand. Have you seen the show McMillions on HBO?
No,
No.
I don't have HBO.
This is
Nor do I.
fascinating. Mark Wahlberg executive produced this. You remember the McDonald's games they had, the Monopoly game?
Yes.
Well, it turns out, and this has a Georgia reference. Didn't know this. The FBI investigated it. It turns out the $1 million winners for years were all related. There was a conspiracy. It was rigged, not by McDonald's, but by someone to be revealed in this 6-part. It's an hour long each part, and I've only seen part 1.
What was done about it?
I don't know because I haven't seen it. This wasn't highly publicized in the news because when this was going down, it was right in the day of 11. So what happened was 9/11 hit and it dominated the airwaves and the news cycle. So it got pushed under the rug. So for the first time, you're seeing real footage from back then. And it's pretty cool what the FBI did in part 1. They interviewed one of the winners and they pretended to be like a prize patrol, like what is it? Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. Yeah, and they show up and they interview this guy on tape saying, so how did you get the game piece that won? And this guy's totally incriminating himself on camera. So it's fascinating and it all is revealed. And I think they've only released the first 3 or 4 of them, but there's 6 total. And I'm enthralled in it. And I wondered why that went away. That McDonald's Monopoly is back.
Yeah.
I used to love that
played
silly
game.
game.
Did you play Monopoly?
I did.
I did.
I never did the board though. I just give me free fries. And
That's
I
right.
Move about my day.
That's all I always got was free fries.
But it was a big
I didn't get anything else but free fries.
It's a big conspiracy. And at the epicenter was a guy named Uncle Jerry. And he was the one that was giving out the $1 million pieces to his family members. So
Yeah.
anyway, check it out on HBO, McMillions. And thanks to Samantha Livingston for telling me about that.
Was Uncle Jerry part of the printing process of making these pieces? Maybe.
Good question. I don't want to give it away, but at the end of part 1, they do reveal a connection to the marketing firm McDonald's partnered with to make the game pieces. So tune in to McMillions on HBO. But now I think we should roll on our pre-recorded segment, but we'll be back live. So, hey, if there's something you want to talk about in terms of Jackie Gleason, your favorite Jackie Gleason movie, The Honeymooners, a favorite bit, whatever, just open phones, 678-996-1776. And how I remember the number, if you're driving around, remember 678, the 996, I think of the Olympics of 1996 in Atlanta, minus the 1, because we're not number 1 in talk radio yet, but we're going to be. So 678-996-1776, spirit of 1776.
And I want to
Independence
thank
Day.
Billy for staying with us.
I'm glad that you did.
And what I
have-
want to do sometime is have Billy on our show when we record a podcast.
I
Can
would
you
love
do
to.
that?
I would absolutely love to. Yeah, because I think we all have the same trivial, and nostalgic mentality.
And the confusing thing is, it is the Nostalgic Pod Blast. That's our podcast title, but we're on radio, the Nostalgic Pop Culture Pop Blast, and we record a new show every Sunday. We'd love to invite you to our other studio,
Okay.
which is in Al's home, not far from here. And we record on Facebook Live a video every Sunday at 3:30, including tomorrow. We talk about war movies. So, but we're talking about Jackie Gleason and the Honeymooners today. So hit it, Al.
All right, let's go back in time. This is a great show. Take a listen.
We'll be back live.
We're
after.
rolling. Hello, welcome.
Hey, Al, what's going on today? It's been a while.
Well, it's been not long enough. just like, and we have a guest today.
We do. We're going to discuss classic television today. And we have someone you've worked with at Turner, Mr. Tom Williams.
Yes, I've
As our
known
special
Tom
guest.
a long time. He's a great friend of mine, and hopefully we'll be friends for a long, long time.
Are we allowed to talk about what he does now these days?
Sure,
He's a director at the Weather Channel.
that is correct.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, he's been there for a long time, and hope he can retire from there.
I direct the weather.
Tom, how are you, man?
Oh, I'm pretty good today. How about you, Chance? You doing good?
Yeah, it's Sundays we record the podcast, and got a good topic. We're going to talk about classic television.
All right.
Originally, I planned on doing just a podcast on the Honeymooners, but I think we should open it up because you guys have a lot of knowledge about classic television. You guys, no offense, are a little before my time, so I think it's cool that you actually watched a lot of these shows that I love. Most of the television shows I like are ones that were before my time, from the 1960s. And let's start with the 1950s, though, today.
Well, we'll start with the 50s, but let's also tell everybody that me, you, and Tom are film collectors, and we collect.
No. I'm sorry. I cannot admit to that, Al. We both know why.
Well, no, you still have your films.
I'm sorry. I do not claim any claim to owning any actual quote unquote film.
Oh, nobody cares anymore if
oh,
you
really?
own anything.
Oh,
you
okay.
know?
Oh, crap.
Didn't you
okay.
say you had a print of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, that would be incorrect, sir.
Yeah. No, it's not out. No, we like the old stuff, and Chance likes he likes the fluff. No, he likes.
How dare you?
Fluffy?
No, he likes the fluff. He likes a Fall Guy and
No,
Patty
Marvel. You
too.
always bag on me for liking the Marvel movies.
stuff. I like Marvel movies fine. I'm just not a comic book collector like you, and I can watch them and be entertained. But if I don't watch
They're
one,
marvelous.
yeah, well, I do like them. Don't get me wrong. I just don't. I'm not crazy about them.
But I thought I'd converted you to be a believer. Aren't you a believer in Stan the Man Lee by now?
I have never heard of Stan the Man Lee until you told me about him. How about that?
You're from a different generation.
That is
so
true.
You get a pass.
I appreciate that.
I'll tell you back when Turner used to own a network called, actually it was a game network called Game Tap. Do you remember that, Chance? You remember hearing about that?
I do not.
Well, it was a Game Tap, and I had already gone up to New York to work for NBC. Welcome to the Tom Williams Show, by the way.
Yeah.
It seems like it's about me all of a sudden. No, but I went up, and Michael Wachelonis was a producer at Game Tap, and he called me and wanted me to go to Las Vegas to do a show for Game Tap. And Stan Lee was the guy that was there. They were a special
Really?
guest.
Wow.
And it was at the Fiesta Casino off the Strip. And I remember going to the meeting. It was me, Stan Lee, and like 3 other people. They left the room. It was just me and Stan Lee. I'm not kidding. This sounds like a BS story, but it's true. And we were just talking about this stuff, Vegas. We didn't talk about Marvel. We didn't do any of that stuff because I kind of like Al wasn't really into the Marvel stuff that heavy. I knew who he was, but I grew to having an amazing admiration for him, and I kick myself in the butt every time I think about that because I could have gotten autographs. I could have gotten. Well, I didn't have the cell.
Could have been a contender.
I guess I had a cell phone.
Did you get a picture with him?
No, I didn't get nothing. So I got no proof, but it really did happen.
You got a great memory.
Yeah, but yes, I do. But we were by ourselves for a good 15, 20, 30 minutes, and we were just BSing. Me and Stan Lee.
Well, do you have any pictures?
No, there's no pictures.
You're kidding.
No. But anyway, I didn't mean to get on a side note. That has nothing to do with what we're here to talk about. But I just want to.
Well, it kind of ties in a way.
Throw that out there, I just want to impress Chance.
Well, I'm very impressed, and I have a bit of trivia about Stan Lee. Did you know that's not his real name? Well, partially it's his name. His real name is Stanley Lieber.
And so he broke down Stanley as Stan Lee. Anyway,
I can
and-
understand why he would do that.
but he created so many iconic characters. I mean, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, the Incredible Hulk, the Fantastic Four, as well as a lot of monsters. But I digress. We'll do a show about Marvel Comics. I've got over 10,000 comics in my collection. I'm really proud of it. It's taken me years, decades to build it. But that's another subject.
And when you do that show, I want to know about the Sharpie incident. That's all I'm going to say about it. That's all I'm going to say, folks. There was a Sharpie incident, and I'm not going to take any further.
All right. Well, I could just, he's teasing, but there is now, Newsweek picked up the story about the angry girlfriend variant of Amazing Spider-Man 14, which is the first appearance of the Green Goblin. We'll talk about it later. I was the victim of some vandalism, but that's another story for another time. We're going to talk about To the Moon, Alice.
Well, that's just one of the shows, The Honeymooners, and I've seen every one of them probably a dozen times a piece. And
Do you know when the Honeymooners started? What year the first skit happened?
well, they were skits on the Jackie Gleason show, correct?
Correct. But at first, it was the Cavalcade of Stars, 1951.
Oh,
And there was a different Alice Cramden played by Pert Kelton before Audrey Meadows took over the role. She had heart problems, Pert Kelton, so she had to leave the cast. But of course, I Love Lucy was before the Honeymooners, and I like I Love Lucy, but I am a huge Honeymooners fan and have been for many, many years. And to piggyback on something Tom said about meeting Stan Lee, my dad once met Jackie Gleason on a flight going to Florida, and he said he was so obnoxious. But I disagree. My dad, he's a businessman, and he's very low key and chill, and he doesn't like boisterous people. I think he didn't get that Jackie Gleason's just a boisterous, larger than life personality. But anyway, I wasn't there. But getting back to the topic, yes, it was a skit in 1951 on that program, and it was really good. It took off right out of the gate. It was popular with the viewers and became a part of history. But did you know, I'm sure you do, there's only 39 original Honeymooners episodes.
I had some on film at one time, and of course I have them on DVD now, but the 39 to me were the best.
Yeah, they were, but I like some of the skits too that was on the Jackie Gleason show on CBS. But it wasn't until 1955 when it became a regular show on the Dumont Network.
October 1st.
There you go. That's right. October 1st, 1955, on a new network that was launched. And Jackie Gleason got a huge contract. He was paid so much money, astronomical in those days. I mean, it was in the millions to star in the Honeymooners. And
Was it the millions in those dollars back then, or millions as it would be today?
good question. The equivalent of.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he lived comfortably.
Oh, he did. He smoked too much.
That's true.
I've read many books because obviously this was before my time, but I've read a lot of books on the Honeymooners, and Jackie Gleason done a lot of homework. And apparently, did you know that Jackie Gleason had a photographic memory? And what he could do is look at a script and memorize it in virtually an hour or two. And the others in the cast, Art Carney and Joyce Randolph, they all wanted to rehearse, and he was against rehearsing. He wanted it to be spontaneous during the live shows because it was live originally. Before the Classic 39, the Jackie Gleason show, which you guys know, was a live program on Saturday night, I believe, before it spun off into the Dumont Network. But Jackie also allegedly could drink a keg of beer a night.
A keg,
a mini keg of beer. It's according to the book I read.
As witnessed by his gut.
And originally he was thin, like in the 1952 skits on the Jackie Gleason show, which have resurfaced. They resurfaced actually. Of course, Jackie had them in his vault the whole time. He knew where they were. They never really got lost. He was smart. When the home video market took off in the 80s, he did a deal first with Showtime Networks to air the kinescopes of these lost episodes of the Honeymooners. And they also came out on home video from MPI Home Video. And I collected all those VHS tapes. But Al, would you explain, you and Tom, to the audience what a kinescope is?
I'll let Tom do that. He's the TV guy.
Well, that's when they literally, if they have a live performance, which is shot with a quote unquote video camera with the Plumicon tubes, et cetera, they would set up a film camera with a monitor, and they would literally photograph on film the video output of that monitor. And that's why when you watch a kinescope, you'll see some type of hits, as we call them in the business, and breakups and stuff. That's just the videotape, or rather the transmission screwing up, and that's why it looks concaved on the edges. There's all kinds of things that you can look at and tell it's a kinescope. But that's how they did it back then.
Well,
That's
it doesn't look as good as actual film.
Well, true, but that's how they bicycled it from coast to coast. They might do it live on the East Coast, and then either later that evening or next week or whatever, it gets to the West Coast on film, a kinescope. What was the show's primary chief competition on the other network?
That's a good question.
Al and my favorite performer, Perry Como. The Perry Como Show.
That's
on
right.
NBC
Mr. C
was stiff competition, very much stiff competition.
There were two different shows. I mean, he had a great entertainment show. I mean, variety show, different people on there, and Dream Along with Me. I'm on my way to a star.
Do you remember all the different characters Jackie would perform and portray, like the bartender?
Rum Dum.
There you go. And Rudy, the repairman, the TV repairman, that was a bit he would do on the Jackie Gleason show. And Reggie Van Gleason, the rich
Reginald
guy.
Van Gleason the third.
There you go. And there were many others, but of course, Ralph Cramden's the one that had the most staying power.
And what was the other guy that actually they had another guy that was a bartender. His name was Frank Fontaine.
Well, he wasn't the bartender; he was the drunk.
Oh, the drunk, yeah.
Hey, Joe. Hello, Mr. Daniel.
Oh, yeah. Crazy Guggenheim.
Crazy Guggenheim. That's him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Frank Fontaine was an amazing singer.
He had a voice that sounded like he was an amazing singer.
Well, it's kind of like equated to Jim Nabors as Gomer Pyle. Okay, because Jim Nabors' voice really didn't sound like that crazy, goofy voice.
No, he had a great voice.
He had a really deep, rich baritone. So did Frank Fontaine. It was amazing. And to watch him sing, he would be the crazy Guggenheim because Jackie Gleason would get him, hey, Craze, why don't you sing us a song? Oh, okay, Mr. Dunn. And he would break into his little bit. You don't have a clip of that, Al?
No, we can find that. Hang on a second, okay?
Jackie Gleason, The Honeymooners, with the stars Art Carney, Audrey Meadows, and Joyce Randolph.
Yes, that's the
What a
Honeymooners.
great theme. Yeah.
And of course, that's the theme to the Classic 39. The
It
live
is.
show had an entirely different opening, but that's the one we know and love through the wonders of syndication.
That's the one from the 39 episodes. Yeah, we all love.
I love that drum beat right at the beginning of that
Boom.
music.
Drum roll.
Yeah, you like strip clubs too. Boom, 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 boom. I'm just kidding. Sorry. I didn't mean
That
to
was
say
a good. I like
that.
that.
Well, I am
Time,
single, so
time.
you're sort of on the money.
Uncle Tom Williams.
No, actually, I think strip clubs are a waste of money, but we digress.
Let's do.
Looks like Sonny wants to say something. Al he's almost right in our laps.
Sonny is
Sonny.
Al's
Hey,
cocker
Sonny loves
spaniel
every.
dog.
Sonny loves everybody.
Sonny.
He's right in the mind.
Okay.
I can get him to bark if you want.
That is the hungriest dog I've ever known. I love Sonny. He's a good dog. He's a dark-haired cocker spaniel. He's a good boy.
Yeah, he's a good dog. But yeah, we're talking about the Honeymooners and Jackie Gleason, and it started in 1955, and I think
Well, no, the Classic 39 started in 55. It started in 1951 as a
that's
skit.
right. That's right.
as I mentioned
Cavalcade of
previously.
Stars. Hey,
That's right.
Tron, did you know about Cavalcade of the Stars?
Yeah, I don't know too much about it though. Back to Chance.
Oh,
And I only know through books that I've read, but I just love they keep finding more and more kinescopes because Jackie Gleason died, unfortunately, back in 1987. And these kinescopes keep surfacing. And you guys describe what a kinescope is expertly. I think it's really cool because it's a time capsule. That was live television. And as Tom mentioned, that's how Coast to Coast, the show could be shown after the live presentation. And another good thing about those shows is the live audience. You know, I love shows that have a real audience and not a laugh track. It's just so genuine and really funny. I mean, shows were so much funnier and better written back
I
in the
have
golden
never
age
been a
of
fan
television.
of laugh tracks. I never have.
Yeah, and one of my shows I like the Patty Duke Show, and they have a terrible canned laugh track in every episode. It's just awful. But Norman Lear really brought back the live audience with All in the Family and Maude and the Jeffersons. I'm actually watching the Jeffersons. I bought all 11 seasons on DVD. I got it for $30. $30 for 11 years, and they are so good. I'll probably stop watching after like season 6 because it got pretty silly. And I think
I
eventually
never
they
got
did
into
get
the
a laugh.
Jeffersons. They were funny,
It's
but
so good.
I never watched it.
Oh man, Sherman Hemsley, and he was good friends with my fiance's dad, Stanley Livingston, who played Chip Douglas on My Three Sons. Very unlikely friendship. I mean, just because they're of different age. I'm not
Right.
talking about race or anything, but very unlikely friendship. But they were really, really good friends. And Sherman Hemsley was a great live performer. But we're here to talk about, well, all things TV, so we can digress if we want. But,
Did you like
back-
the Jeffersons, Tom?
No. But did you see the remake
A remake.
that they did on
They
ABC?
did a live. Yeah, it was. I did not see it, but it was not well received.
But it was actually quite good. I mean, they'll probably do another one. I wouldn't doubt it because Jimmy Kimmel's behind it. So I don't know.
And they did All in the Family too.
Yeah, but they followed it with the Jeffersons.
Right.
With Jennifer, what's her name? Jennifer Hudson, is that her name? The black
She played
singer.
Wheezy. Yeah.
No, the black singer who was the singer, and she sang in between the shows to bring on the Jeffersons. She sang the Jeffersons theme.
Oh yeah, Janet Dubose sang the original version.
Right.
Yeah, moving on up.
Yeah, that's it. So that's how they bring the show. She
Yeah,
was
they-
behind the scenes, behind the set, walking, and she eventually walked onto the set and ended the song. Then the show started. It was rather clever, actually.
I need to see that.
I've got it.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Share it with
I
me.
never
I want
saw
to check
that.
that out.
I never saw that.
And they're doing more too. But I think the ratings were strong for the revival.
Well, they were. I mean, they were because they advertised the heck out of it. So whether you like it or not, it got good ratings, and I'm sure they'll do a lot. And Norman Lear was there, sitting next to Jimmy Kimmel, and wearing
He's
his
90, I think 97.
yeah, wearing his goofy little hat.
Yeah.
And it was quite interesting to see because they show a lot of the behind the scenes and things. And Woody Harrelson did an amazing job
As
as
Archie
Archie
Bunker.
Bunker. Yeah, it's
I
amazing.
just
It's
can't
very good.
picture him as Archie Bunker.
Well, no one could, but he did a very good job.
Wow.
I've got to see this, man. I'm a TV junkie, and it's.
Why do you
he
what
was
do you
graceful. I haven't
think?
seen
Why
that.
do you think that television today is going back in time and pulling these old shows and redoing them?
Because they're out of ideas. I mean, so much has been done. And how long has TV been around? Since the 40s? It's almost all been done. So you have nothing but reboots.
And
There
reality.
is some
Bare
original
Naked Lady
stuff.
song.
I mean,
It's all been
people
done.
Like Veep with Julia Louis-Dreyfus on Showtime. There's a lot of good content on Netflix, of course. I mean, there is some good stuff out there, but you have to hunt for it. In terms of network TV, in my opinion, there's very seldom that's anything of any substance, except for maybe Big Bang Theory, which either you like it or you hate it. Most people like it. I think it's okay. At least I watched the first few years. I haven't watched it in
You know,
several
I have
seasons, but
never watched a single episode of that.
I don't know if they have a live audience or not. I mean, it's been accused of having a laugh track, but I know originally they did have a live audience when they would record those shows. And what was that one with Tiger Blood? Charlie Sheen for years and years. What was that show? Two and a Half Men?
That's it.
Okay, I get confused with 3 Men and a Baby, but
Yeah.
that was a show with a live audience too. But anyway, but I digress. But getting back to the Honeymooners, poor Ralph Cramden. He had one get-rich-quick scheme after another. It always failed. He had low-cal pizza he tried once. He bought a hotel another time in a live skit. And he had a hot dog stand, and he just thought he was going to get rich overnight. However, there was one time when he actually did hit it big, him and Ralph. And they wrote a song. And the skit's called Songwriters. And that's the unique thing about the skit. It's the only one that ended on a high note. And here's the song. It actually became a single.
By Bob Mann.
The garbage can goes clang, the radiator goes bang, and the vacuum cleaner makes a racket too. Put them all together, and what have you got? That's my love song to you. A car outside gets a flat. Somebody steps on a cat. And the next door neighbor's kid is screaming too. Put them all together, and what have you got? That's my love song to you. A salesman rings the bell, and then he tries to sell a book about the peaceful life in Rome. But you can have your quiet. It takes a little riot to make a house into a happy home. To make my life complete, some guys are fixing the street. If I'm lucky, they'll keep drilling all night through. Though it's a mighty din, not like Gershwin or Berlin. It's my love song to you.
Goodbye!
Though it's a mighty din, not like Gershwin or Berlin. It's my love song to
I love those strings.
You're the greatest.
I'm crying, man.
Yeah.
That was a
crying
good
too.
song. And who do you think that sounds like, Al, who was singing that?
Peter Marshall.
But it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Peter
Bob,
Marshall.
It was Bob Manning, according to some.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bob Manning, yes.
Well, he
was he a one-hit wonder, Al?
no. He did a lot of standards. He
I'm
was.
just kidding.
I remember him.
I've never heard of him.
Well, of course not. You know, you were listening to Donna Summer in the car today.
Yeah, on the way to lunch, Boston Market. That's true. I had on XM.
But no, that's a great song by but it sounds like Peter Marshall.
Studio 54 XM radio. But look up Songwriters. It's on YouTube. That was a great skit. I just love the happy ending, the rare happy ending where Ralph was going to be a success at last.
Yeah.
But of course, Ralph always had run-ins with Alice's mother. And I love this one bit where Alice's mom is at the table in the little apartment, and Ralph comes through the door, and her back is to Ralph. And he enters the door, and she goes, "Hello, Ralph." And he goes, "How did you know it was me?" And she goes, "I could feel the floor sag." And then he slams us anyway, and they get into it, and they get into a row. But I loved Alice's mother. I can't recall the name of the actress who played her, but she was really great. I love the episodes with Alice's mom. But I think there might be a clip of some zingers that we want to play between Ralph and Ralph's mom. Have you got that ready, Al?
Your mother. On your mother, I got a waste of ticket on a junior space cadet.
Listen, Ralph, don't go blaming my mother. It is not her fault. How could she know that you have tickets to a show?
Oh, she knows. She knows. I don't know how she finds out, but she knows. I don't know whether she uses a Ouija board or a porn teller, but she knows.
Listen, Ralph, I know Mother isn't the easiest person in this world to get along with, but that's no reason for you to act the way you do.
I act the way I do, Alice, because your mother is a blabbermouth. A blabbermouth.
Ralph, I have told you about that before. I don't want you calling her that.
All right. You're an expert at crossword puzzles. Give me another word for blabbermouth. As soon as she come in here, she starts in talking. The minute she steps in till the minute she steps out, she starts in on me. Oh, if Alice only had married those other boyfriends. Oh, Ralph, why do you eat so much? You're so fat. Yeah, why don't you get some furniture for the apartment? Your mother's nosy, Alice. Nosy. Snooping around. Anything I hate, it's a nosy blabbermouth.
Now, listen, Ralph, I am warning you for the last time. You call her that once more, and when my mother leaves here tonight, I just might go with her.
All right, I won't say a word. I won't say a word to you or to your mother.
That'll suit me just fine. At least that way there won't be any arguments.
There won't be any argument. You think because I don't say a word, there won't be an argument? Are you kidding? I'll bet you $1 million that she won't be in this apartment 3 minutes before she starts an argument. And I won't have to say a word, Alice. 3 minutes, I give. She'll start an argument. Without a word from me.
Oh, Alice, dear. Oh, hello, dear. Oh, my. Oh. I'm glad to sit down. Phew. You know, Alice, I wish you didn't live so far from the subway.
Oh, Mother, it's only 3 blocks.
3 long blocks. But I suppose you can't do any better with the rent that you can afford. Now, your sister only lives a half a block from the subway. Well, that's one of the advantages of having a husband that's a good provider.
Mother, I have some coffee on. Would you like some?
Oh, that'd be nice, dear. Yes, thank you. Alice, you look thin. Are you getting enough to eat?
Oh. Of course I am, Mother. You wouldn't say that if you could see our food bill.
Well, I don't doubt the bills are high. But how much of the food are you getting?
Mother, don't you worry about me. I feel just fine.
Well, I hope so. My goodness, a little food is the least you can get out of marriage. Oh, by the way, guess who I saw today?
Who?
Chester Barnes. Oh, you remember Chester, that nice boy that was so crazy about you.
Yeah, how is he?
Oh, he's fine. He's just fine. Oh, and he's handsomer than ever. Oh, my dear. And he's so tall and slim. I guess a man doesn't have to get fat if he doesn't want to. Oh, we had a nice long chat. You know, he's so charming. You know, of all the boys that you brought to our house, he's the only one that I had any use for.
Mother, now come on, drink your coffee. Ralph, would you like some?
What's the matter with him?
Nothing's the matter with him, Mother. Oh, Ralph has got tickets for a Broadway show tonight. He's going with Ed Norton.
Ed Norton? Doesn't he know he's got a wife?
Mother, Ralph asked me to go with him first, but I couldn't because you were coming over to spend the evening. Anyway, it's a wonderful show. It's called Murder Strikes Out.
Oh, that. Oh, I had a neighbor, Mrs. Finley. She saw it. She didn't think much of it.
Really? It was supposed to be such a big hit. The paper said it's a very exciting mystery.
Oh, the papers, that's just a lot of publicity. All that to do about chills and suspense. And that nonsense about don't tell your friends the surprise ending. Well, it was no surprise to Mrs. Finley. She said she knew all the time that it wasn't the uncle who committed the murder. It was the husband.
You are a blabbermouth! A blabbermouth! You blabbermouth! Out! Out! Out!
Well, I've had enough.
Out!
I'm going home. Oh.
Blabbermouth!
I love that clip.
That's
I love
awesome.
the banter between Ralph and Alice's mom. Now, Tom, who played Alice's mom?
Well, you know, that was, you just forgot. That was Ethel Owen. And she played Mrs. Gibson, Ralph Cramden's smart-tongued, interfering mother-in-law.
She was great.
I don't think they got along too good.
No, they did not.
what really makes that clip is too bad you couldn't see the facial expressions on Jackie Gleason's face. It's so funny. So look that up.
He goes,
yeah.
He's growling in there.
He sets that timer, just waiting to explode. And he does. I just love it.
They just don't make TV like that
Hey, and
anymore.
by the way, Ethel was from Savannah, Georgia.
Really?
Yeah.
A
Really.
Southern girl.
Yeah, Southern girl, right there.
How about
She
that?
died at 103 years old.
Well, she was 103 during the show, it looks like.
In 1997, she died in Savannah. So, wow, it's amazing.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Amazing.
Born there and died there in Savannah, Georgia. As we record this, we are in the Atlanta, Georgia area. So
Yeah.
we think it's cool that she was from Savannah.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know she was.
Have you noticed how Al Hardy's microphone is louder than anyone else's? Just saying.
Southern girl.
Yeah, and another thing about Jackie Gleason is that he wrote a lot of great music, and yet he could not read a single note of music. He would hum it out, which is really cool. And Al is holding up a 45 that Jackie Gleason cut, music for lovers only.
That's great music. That is awesome music.
Yeah, and it's just so impressive that,
See one back there you go.
he would just hum an orchestration and have someone that could obviously perform the music, and bam, that's how he wrote his songs.
Well, there's a clip on YouTube of him conducting a big orchestra, and I do not remember what show the clip is from, but it's a full-blown symphonic orchestra, and he's leading them, and it's a pretty amazing clip. It's on YouTube. Just look it up. Jackie Gleason with orchestra. It's pretty cool.
I have to look that up. But you never hear. I never heard about Jackie. Was he? I know he was married, but how many times? I mean, you never hear about his wives or anything.
He was pretty private for someone
Yeah.
that had the mouth that he did. He was pretty quiet. When he moved down to Miami, he was doing some shows down there in the 70s, and they had
American
Honeymooners
Scene
revivals.
magazine, yeah.
I loved American Scene. I've only seen a few kinescopes, and I have them on video.
That was a great show.
Yes, I still have videotape. I need to convert it to DVD.
He
before
had
the
those
tape
great
goes bad.
dancing girls on there.
Yeah, the June Taylor dancers.
June Taylor dancers. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they had a great rack of legs. But
Yeah,
Jackie, he just had a great personality. I love the little things, the subtle things he would do. Like he'd go, "Oh, CBSI," and show the CBSI at the end of the show. And
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, he had that photographic memory. Never would rehearse. He hated rehearsals, and he was kind of difficult to work with. But what a star! What a personality!
How did he and my mind's blank, the guy that played Ed Norton,
Art Carney.
Art Carney, they got along pretty well, didn't they?
They sure did. In fact, there's an interview I'd like to play. You don't have to play it right now, but
Yeah.
Art Carney didn't do many interviews, but he did one after Jackie passed in 1987, and it's pretty cool. I want to play some of that at some point today, not this minute. Just want to quickly talk about one of my favorite monologues that Jackie did in a classic 39 episode. It was an episode where Ralph found a satchel full of money on the bus, and he thought he finally hit it big.
It was called Funny Money.
Funny Money. I had a
Great
16
episode.
millimeter print of that. Fortunately, it went vinegar, and I threw it out. But yeah, it was a really good print while it lasted. But I have them all on DVD. But I really recommend a set that came out in 2011 for the 60th anniversary of the Honeymooners' first live performance in '51. It's awesome. It doesn't have
They're
the classic
great
39,
transfers.
but yes,
Yeah.
they're transfers from the kinescopes, and there's some that were recently discovered that are on there, like Easter hats. But my favorite skits were some that were done live after the classic 39 when the Dumont network folded and went back to Jackie Gleason's show. And it was like a 6 to 8 week storyline where Ralph and Ed had won a contest to Europe. And I liked it because they had pocket money. They weren't
Mhm.
broke. They were out of that apartment setting. And they were in Europe, and one week they'd be in London, then they'd be in Italy, and then they'd be in Germany or wherever. And they were really cool. And it's on that set. I'd never seen them until I got that set in 2011. So I highly recommend it.
You'll have to bring that over so I can watch it.
Yeah, man, I'm a huge Honeymooners fan. And do you have that clip handy of Art Carney being interviewed talking about his pal, Jackie?
Norton, was it tough sometimes working with Crampton?
Sure it was tough, but I loved it.
You loved every minute of it.
Oh, you bet I did. I'm going to miss it. We met in 1950, and this morning I got to thinking how old I was. I was 32, Jackie was 35. A couple of kids. My youngest son is 35. We shook hands, and the chemistry happened. I guess it was because he was so Irish and I was so Irish.
Were there any bad times at all between the two of you? Any difficulties that you had?
Difficulty?
Yeah.
Not with Gleason.
Not with Gleason.
I never had a crossword. I never had an argument. No temperament, none of that jazz. We just hit it off.
Did you ever try to discourage him from smoking those 5 packs of cigarettes per day?
A lost cause.
A lost cause? You tried, though.
Oh, well, I'd mention it once in a while, but Jackie had his mind set on something that he wanted to do. He did it.
There was a time in one show, I understand, near the end, where Jackie Feld broke his ankle, and you went out there with him and continued the last 5 minutes of the broadcast, and no one knew the difference, right?
Yeah. Well, it was fortunately it was the last sketch on the show, and he slipped on some dry ice or something like that, and down he went, broke his ankle, and I was in the sketch, and he looked up to me and said, they closed the curtain. He said, "I go out and say goodnight to the folks." I don't know what would have happened if it had been the first 5 or 10 minutes of the show, because I know I couldn't carry an hour show, not without him anyway.
Mr. Carney, I'd love to know more about what Mr. Gleason was like off stage. Was he a happy man? Was he content with his success?
Jackie, contrary to the reports that a lot of people thought he was completely extroverted, he wasn't. I can say that knowing it because I'm introverted myself to a large degree, and my extrovert qualities come out in my work, and that's the way it was with Gleason, I think.
Was he a Pagliacci?
What's that?
Was he sort of like Pagliacci?
No, I don't think so, but he had his moments. When he was partying and living it up, he did it to the nth degree. But when he felt like thinking and reading and being by himself, or not talking, that's the way he was.
Do you think it bothered him that he never won an Emmy or an Oscar?
Yeah, I think it did. And by golly, I think he deserves one. I hope he gets nominated for Nothing in Common, the motion picture he made with Tom Hanks. Myself, to Gleason's credit, I got about 5 Emmys, all connected with his show. And that's likely due to the fact that he let me shoot the works, and I went full rein and full tilt. Anything I thought that was funny, he said, go ahead and do it. If I got a big laugh, great.
Mr. Carney, thank you very much for your time and your thoughts, and our condolences upon the loss of your old pal.
Thank you, Jim.
Good night, Mr. Scotty.
Good night.
Sorry about that. We're about trying to talk at the same time.
Are you guys okay over there?
No, that's some good sounding audio there, Al.
Thank you.
The quality's a little rough, but I like that interview a lot. Talking about his old buddy Jackie. That was live from his home at the time, shortly after Jackie's death in '87.
But he went on to do some really good movies.
Well, I'll tell you what, Minnesota Fats and The Hustler was an amazing, amazing portrayal.
With Paul Newman.
Yeah, but
With
his
Hustler.
best and most famous role of all time. Do you know what it was? Come on.
Tell us.
It wasn't The
Buford
Stain.
T. Justice.
Hell yeah.
Smoking a Bandit, baby.
I'm gonna barbecue your ass.
That's right.
It's just like we need to play that.
Bandit. Yeah, we got to get a clip from Smokey for sure. How could I forget? That is the best. Buford T. Justice with the toilet paper on his shoe in the restaurant. Remember that in the barbecue?
Yeah,
joint?
he says,
Walk
I'm going to
around.
go home and kick your mama in the face or punch your mama in the face.
I'm gonna go home and hit your mama in the mouth.
In the mouth, that's what it was.
And then he had another good line. There's no way you came from my loins. When he's talking to his son, the doofus that was supposed to marry Sally Field's character Frog, but she bailed on him at the altar.
Yeah.
Hey, Al, getting back to Jackie Gleason and his music, did you know? And because you own a lot of these LPs, as I do.
Yeah.
I own some EPs.
Not as many as you, but I do own
But
some.
he has his output 20 plus singles and nearly 60. Do you hear that number? 60 long playing record albums and over 40 CDs.
Wow.
And is that amazing? And he didn't sing. And that means I got to go to the record store and buy a lot more records. 'Cause I thought I already had them all.
But it's
or a bunch of
great.
them.
It's great music.
But
It just really is.
fantastic. And his first music is called Music for Lovers Only. Was that the EP you had there? a moment
Yeah,
ago?
right here. It says
was that an EP you've got?
this is an EP, Jackie Gleason,
it's an
Music
EP.
for Lovers Only.
Yeah, and he still now listen to this. Here's something that he probably didn't know, that Chance probably didn't know. He still holds the record for the longest stay on Billboard's top 10 charts, 153 weeks. We're talking Jackie Gleason.
Jackie Gleason.
You
Who
know,
would
he's
have
not even a
known?
musician, for crying out loud. I mean, he was just wow. That's amazing.
incredible.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's a great EP.
Talk about a multi-talent and a triple threat.
You know what I like about this? Of course, you can't see it. You know what we need to do? I have a camera. We can record the show and put it on YouTube.
We should start doing that.
We can start doing that.
Why should Southside Steve have all the fun?
Yeah, well, I don't know who that is, so we won't do that. But did you see?
And then you could see Chance in his Jackie Gleason outfit. Yeah,
That's right.
He's paying homage to him. He's got a fat suit on and everything, and he looks great.
He does.
Fat
Fat suit.
I've actually got a bright green Invaders TV shirt. T-shirt on for the TV show.
You know what
The
I like
Invaders
about
Quinn
this
Martin show.
this album cover for Lovers Only is the cigarettes in the ashtray.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, see,
That's something you don't see anymore.
Now, in the reproduction of that album cover, they have paint boxed that cigarette out.
I can see why they did that.
And replaced it with pills. You know,
It's kind of like Meet the Beatles when they had Paul had a cigarette in his hand and they digitized it out for.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
pretty lame.
I have the original, but they in the later issues they
well,
digitized
do you
the cigarette out.
remember along the same time period, Manny, Mo, and Jack?
Manny, Mo, and Jack.
Manny, Mo, and Jack, Pep Boys, and the
Oh,
little
yeah.
dude on the end with the glasses. He used to have a cigar sticking out of his mouth. Now everyone go Google Manny, Mo, and Jack. The cigar.
But that was a
gone.
trait
No,
for
the
that.
cigar's gone.
That was a trait
Cigar's
for
gone.
that.
They got rid of it.
But a cigar, that's not like a cigarette.
It doesn't matter. The masses, the tobacco is so bad. I mean, they made him get rid of it, and they were pressured to get rid of it, and probably by what, 3 people,
Yeah.
and that's what happened.
That's sad. Just so
That is-
sad.
That's bad.
And now I've got to
It's
talk
the world we live in.
real quick. I'm not trying to go on and on with these clips, but I do have one more of my favorite monologue. And everyone's got their favorite, so this probably isn't yours, but this is my favorite monologue of Jackie Gleason as Ralph Cramden in The Honeymooners. And he just found a satchel full of cash on the back of his bus.
For a couple of days. That's more than anybody else in this dump can say. For 2 days I had it and I went with it too. It came easy and it went just as fast. And that's the way I'd be if I had it. Easy come, easy go. If anybody found out I had it, they could have it. My nature to spend. Except I never have anything to spend.
I just love that, man.
He's a great talent. That's a great clip.
And I'm glad it sounded better than the last one.
Now, wait a minute. Funny money. Yeah, it's a good
man.
show. I too had that on film at one time. But like I said, I have all the 39 episodes on DVD, and I paid a lot of money for those. Now you can get them for.
Well, heck, you were with me at the Goodwill when we went Goodwilling. Goodwilly? What the heck?
Goodwilling.
Goodwilling. And I bought the box set for like $5.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah. And I paid like $49 or $59 for it when it
Well, I'll
came
sell
out.
you mine for $20.
I've actually got the Laserdisc set of the Classic 39.
You
I don't
got-
have the DVDs. I need to get them. I'm a Honeymooners freak, and all I have are the kinescopes.
Well, you know what? I will give you mine. Yes, I will give you mine.
Well, damn, you're at the top of my Christmas list, that's for sure. Thanks, Tom. That's awesome.
Very nice. Yeah, look at that.
Awesome.
But we're talking about the Honeymooners and Jackie Gleason, and one of the greatest TV shows ever, in my opinion.
It was, and there's just a couple more interviews. You don't have to hit it just yet, but there's one interview that Jackie did with the great Johnny Carson in 1985. He was promoting a movie he was doing, Nothing in Common, with Tom Hanks. And I think that might have been the last movie he did.
That wasn't it, Tom? Wasn't that the last movie he did?
I thought, yeah, maybe. For some reason, I thought Sting 2 was one.
That was a stinker.
Yeah, it was a stinker.
That was a stinker. Did you see that?
No, I
The
never saw
Sting
it.
2?
Well, it had Mac Davis in it. Of all.
It was
I mean,
terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Also, the guy that was in Carl Malden, he was in it.
Oh,
Remember?
yeah, with the cauliflower nose.
Yeah.
Now, Chance, did you ever see Brad Garrett's movie, the Jackie Gleason movie?
It was excellent.
I don't
yes.
remember what it was called, but I thought he did an amazing
It
job.
was great. It was from 2002, and I have it on my DVR. I recorded it years ago, and I've watched it maybe twice. They did an excellent job showing his backstory. You know, as a kid going to comedy clubs with his dad, and you know, like a lot of great comedians, he had kind of a sad story. You know, there was a lot of pain behind the laughs. Really sad, just like Richard Pryor.
Well, he had another movie. What was it? Gigo? What? How do you say that?
Giglio? I don't know.
He didn't talk. He played like a deaf mute.
Yes.
And he was actually quite good in it.
Jackie Gleason did?
Yes. Because all of
I've
his,
never
all
seen
of-
that.
Yes. But what's amazing about it is all of his facial expressions, his body expression is just absolutely amazing. He's like a fat Marcel Marceau.
Yeah. And he's
Wow.
self-taught.
Hey, that's funny. Come on.
That is. Fat Marcel.
Or like Dom DeLuise, but funny.
Now, he's a funny man, too.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
He's fat people are funny.
And the beautiful thing about film is that these people live on forever. I mean, Jackie's been gone since 87, but, you know, thanks to film and video and kinescopes, I mean, he's going to live on for hundreds and hundreds of years throughout the generations, unless someone drops a damn bomb and the world explodes. He's going to be around for all time.
That he is. Jackie Gleason was one of the best. I mean, he appeared on Johnny Carson, and let's check that out.
Oh, good.
Yeah. What? Wonderful.
Now, just once say how sweet it is, and we'll get on with this.
How sweet it is.
You know, must be a kick. You did the Honeymooners in what year exactly? The first original 39 episodes.
I think around 1951.
51.
We started.
Only did 39 episodes.
39.
Of the half hours. And now you have a whole new generation of fans. The youngsters, of course, who were just born then are now seeing them all over. It must give you a great kick.
It is.
To see a whole new generation.
Very gratifying to think that something you did 30 years ago shows up and is a hit.
Yeah, and a big hit.
Yeah.
And a big hit. You know, this is the first time. I've been doing this show for 23 years. Never had you on the show.
I don't understand it, John.
Yeah.
The only thing I can figure is I was waiting to find out if this show was a hit.
You're out here doing a picture with young Tom Hanks, right?
Yes, and he is a fine actor.
Yeah.
Great actor.
Now, tell me about your friend Bacon here. You've known each other for a number of years, and you both, the book is filled with a lot of your, for the lack of a better word, pranks or escapades, evenings out. Matter of fact, you kind of wrote this book over sharing a little scotch at one time.
Well,
or other, right?
we had a few aperitifs, and Jim is with the
yes, he is.
So he's very nice company.
Matter of fact, when you were doing the toy, didn't they tell him to?
Oh, they considered him a bad companion for me. They thought if he showed up, I'd get stewed. And they were right.
You know, I was reading the book last night, and I came into your dressing room a while just before the show tonight. And I said, you remember a show?
Oh, John.
We can get that one out of the way right off.
Yeah.
You've had many successes, but you did a television show in 1961.
God, sorry.
The show itself went on one time. It was called You're in the Picture.
Oh.
Now, the reason I'm bringing this up was because I was also part of the show. You were the host, if I remember, and you sat over to the right of the stage, and you sat at a little table, and you had your little coffee cup. And I think I was on the show. I think Arthur Treacher. The late Milt Kamen.
Jan Sterling.
Now, the idea of the show was the television audience could see at home, and the studio audience could see a picture. The celebrities would come, and we put our heads through a hole in the picture from the back. We didn't know what the picture was.
Good God.
Yeah. I was one of those people. And you would ask questions, and we would ask questions of you, what we were doing. Are we an animal and so forth? And it really did not go too well. And I remember one of the questions I asked you about halfway through, I said, would you tell me why I've got my head through this hole in this picture? The critics took the show apart, and next week you came on the stage and did one of the funniest half hours on television because you didn't do that show. You just sat down and apologized.
I came out and apologized to the audience for committing such a terrible crime. This was the biggest bomb ever put on television. And when I went to the executives of CBS and I said, I got to go on next week and apologize for this. They said, we don't allow anybody to go on and apologize for anything we put on. And I said, well, this week you're gonna. And I had a lot of fun that night.
It was wonderful. You came out and said it was one of the funniest half hours I've ever seen. You only did, let's talk about the Honeymooners a little bit. You did 39, and they came to you and wanted you to do another season.
Yeah.
And you said no at the time.
They didn't believe me.
People have always wondered why you didn't, because it's so successful.
Well, we were running out of ideas, and I liked the Honeymooners. I liked doing them. And I didn't want to denigrate them by, forcing scenes that didn't mean anything.
Right.
So I wanted to quit. And they didn't believe me. They thought I had another job someplace.
Right.
But I didn't, and I'm glad I did stop then. Because what we had done was good. And if we had gone any further, we might have spoiled it.
Yeah. All these characters, I saw the piece that Morley Safer did with you on 60 Minutes. All the characters you do, from Ralph Cramden to Joe the bartender to the poor soul, really came out of your background in the early years in Brooklyn, didn't they?
Well, yes, the Honeymooners especially, because there were 1,000 Nortons and 1,000 Cramdens. And Reggie, of course, I did in Burlesque, and I did the poor soul on Broadway.
Right.
So they fit in pretty good with television.
Which of those characters, of all of them, is the closest to Jackie Gleason?
Well,
can you most identify with?
I guess I'd have to say Reggie.
I wish we had the train set up where the train came out with a little jigger of booze. We're going to take a short break. We're coming right back.
There's only one Johnny Carson. I just love that clip. And, the sad thing is, NBC erased the first 10 years of The Tonight Show, 1962 to 1972.
Well, and it's only because video 2-inch video broadcast tape costs so much, and they want to recycle it. Crazy, huh?
That is crazy. And they also got rid of a lot of Hollywood Squares episodes. A lot of great game shows were erased for that very reason. But I'm grateful for Antenna TV, which is a national diginet, meaning you can pick it up for free with a digital receiver, and they air reruns of the Johnny Carson show, Tonight Show, which starring Johnny Carson
at 11:30.
This ad was paid for by Antenna TV.
I'm just glad they play them. They need to add some new episodes. Though they started in 2016, and they're playing the same one.
Well, they probably only paid for so many.
They have about a year's worth of material because they air every day, and on the weekend they air the 90-minute shows, 1970s shows, but they don't have anything older than 1972 that's left. But anyway, unless you find a kinescope. And a buddy of mine actually has a kinescope of a Johnny Carson show from the 60s. Ellis Hogue. You know him, Al.
I know him. Big collector.
He's a film collector. But as we mentioned at the top of the show, we're all film collectors. And that means 16 millimeter. These guys have 35 millimeter, I believe. I know Al does. But I just have 16.
The way I see it, if it's old, we like it.
That's right.
If it's old school, we like it.
But Al's such a nice guy. Like, he repairs my films. He has, from Ted Turner stuff he was given, tools that you can't find, like splicers and other pieces of equipment pertaining to film. That's just fantastic stuff I should have invested in a long time ago, but I never really fooled with it. So, Al, I'm always grateful to you repairing my films when I bring them over if there's sprocket damage or whatever.
Well, no problem. Now, getting back to the Honeymooners, of course, we haven't talked much about Audrey Meadows.
No, Audrey, the second Alice Cramden, and arguably the best.
I thought, wasn't she a voice for one of the girls on the Flintstones?
No, no, but the Flintstones was based on the Honeymooners.
Oh, okay, that's right.
But who was she married to? Steve Allen.
That's right.
Now here's the funny thing.
Her sister.
When I worked at Turner, I did
Jane
a
Meadows.
show called the Trumpet Awards every year from 9
Yeah,
years.
I remember that.
And Steve Allen was one of the hosts of that show. And guess who he brought with him? Audrey Meadows, and I did meet her.
Really?
Of course, did I get a picture?
That's Jane Meadows.
Yeah.
Do you
But
have
she
any
was
of that video?
not
The
a well, no. She wasn't on the show.
Oh, she was in the
was just
studio.
no. She was just with Steve.
Right,
She
right.
came to the show.
Like off camera.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. And he was the host along with the black actress singer who just passed away last year. Her name escapes me. Forgive me, but
Eartha Kitt?
no. But
No, she played on Touched by an Angel. Is that who you're talking about?
no, that's not
She's
her.
still
That was Della. No, that was
Della
Reese.
Reese.
Reese gone
No,
too?
no.
She passed away too.
But anyway, to make a long story short, Steve Allen was very gracious and very nice, but he was very much out of his element. But that's another story for another time. But Audrey Meadows was a very nice lady, very, very beautiful lady, sitting there in the front row while we were rehearsing, and she was fantastic.
And she did another show I liked with Ted Knight, Too Close for Comfort. She played the mother-in-law of Nancy DeSalt's character, the wife, on that program. But that was a sitcom that's okay. It's not one of the best, but Audrey had a good recurring role. Now, she won an Emmy for The Honeymooners in 1955, unlike Jackie. But as we mentioned earlier, Jackie won an Oscar playing Minnesota Fats in The Hustler with Paul Newman, but we already talked about
Well, let's
that.
listen to.
Here's Audrey. I want to
Audrey.
just set this up. Pat Sajak, the host of Wheel of Fortune, who started as a weatherman, like David Letterman did. He had a talk show for, I think, 6 months or so. He was competing with David Letterman.
About 30 seconds.
All right. And this is Audrey Meadows on the Pat Sajak show. Hit it, Al.
It just doesn't lose anything.
No, and also today you can do so many things that we couldn't do then and didn't want to do, I might add. The dialogue is a little racier today and lots of words are used. We never had one suggestive remark on that show or anything even close to it. It was just pure, solid, truthful humor, and I think that explains why it lasted so long.
You know what I admire, among many things I admire about it, is no one ever goes out of character. And I know things have got to be going wrong out there because you were doing this live stuff. You weren't stopping. And yet, and sometimes if you're watching very close, you can see something probably wasn't the way it should have been, but you never would know it by your reaction to it or Jackie's reaction.
You know what many people don't know, Pat? We filmed 1 year of 30. In those days, you did 39 shows and you had 13 weeks off. We did our 39 shows. We did 2 a week, and we never took over one single shot or word. And there was one show called Chef of the Future, where they go on television. I don't know. A few people remember it. And they're trying to sell some dreadful kitchen equipment. And a piece of it broke off and it flew off the set. And the two of them fell on the side of that flat and it went right smack over on the ground. And that's still in.
Yeah.
He never did it over. Yeah. Now today with tape, they'd stop immediately and the crew would rush around and put the wall up again. Yeah. But with Jackie, no, he wanted it fresh and vital and new.
Well, it showed. You know, tape is a wonderful convenience.
Yes,
but I have heard, I've heard this from not directors, not ours, Artie, but I've heard this from other. Hey, you're welcome.
I take it all back, Artie. You were a wonderful cameraman.
But I've heard directors say after a scene or a take, they'll say, "That's perfect. Let's do it again." I've never understood that.
I don't understand it.
Yeah. I mean, if you got perfection, stay with it.
Stick with it.
Do you remember this
fix
cover?
what isn't broken.
Remember this cover?
Oh no!
You have this in your collection?
No.
This is 1953. This was when you. This is you and your sister Jane.
Yes.
Yeah. And a nice story about you guys. You were just getting started then, 53. Would that have been the first?
No. When did we start? 52.
52, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this was early on. I was looking at the story about it, and before I tell you what Jane had to say, do you remember doing the first show, the first episode?
Do I remember? It is etched indelibly on my brain. The first show I did with Jackie, I had always been rehearsal happy, and I'd worked with just about every comic in the industry who were all rehearsal happy people. The more you rehearsed, the more secure you felt.
Sure.
And I didn't realize that Jackie worked totally differently. So after I got the job, there was a week before I went on, and I was in a show on Broadway. So they called me for rehearsal on a Monday morning, and I went up there, and Life magazine was doing a big spread on him, and all they did was take pictures of us. And no rehearsal. So they said, well, Tuesday, 11 o'clock. So I went up Tuesday, 11 o'clock, and they said, oh, we're so sorry nobody called you. Oh, what a shame. Mr. Gleason had an appointment.
No, still no
Come
rehearsal.
tomorrow at the same time.
Okay.
I said, well, I have a matinee on Wednesday, and that'll cut it too short. Well, make it Thursday.
They were really concerned.
And I was the only new one on the show.
So
Everybody had
Thursday
worked
comes, what
together.
happens?
Thursday came, 11 o'clock. He had to go to the dentist.
Now
Make
we're-
it Friday. Now, as we got into Friday, I was so psychopathic with nerves and fright. I was a mental case. Got up there Friday, he was gone again. My call on Saturday was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we went on the air live at 8 o'clock.
Not 1 ounce of rehearsal to that point.
No,
Did
and
you-
he'd never heard me read the part. So I sat in the theater, and they rehearsed the June Taylor dances till they were exhausted. And then we had...
Could you ever do that with your legs on the floor? They were amazing. How they...
Never,
That's
never.
amazing.
No, and I'm not about to try it now.
Anytime.
All right, that was a great clip, but I want to say that I'm sorry, guys. I made a big boo-boo.
And what was that?
That was Jane Meadows, Audrey's sister.
They look so much alike.
You look at the picture, and they're like twins. They are.
Well, maybe they were twins. Were they twins?
My mistake. I apologize, everyone. So if everyone's going to write in, go, "Oh, you got that wrong." Well, yeah, I did, and I'm not perfect. Thank you very much.
And here I was going to invite you to be a permanent part of the show.
Well, he needs to be a permanent part of the show.
Well, I appreciate that.
No, I know. I don't know if you want this out there or not, but he recently got married to a lovely lady. So I know you're busy, but we'd love to have you back on the podcast anytime you're available.
Well, I certainly will. I'm going to bring her too because she's a real hoot.
Oh, yeah. She would be
Susan.
great. She would be
She's-
Susan.
she's-
Yeah, she'd be
she's an
great.
amazing woman.
I can't wait to meet her. In fact, we're all film guys, as we talked about. We're seeing Clash of the Titans this Saturday at a place called
The Plaza.
The Plaza Theater.
with Professor Morte. He's going to scare the yell out of you.
That's in the Virginia Highlands area of Atlanta. Those familiar with the Atlanta,
It's
Georgia
a classic
area.
old theater that opened up in, I think, 35, 36, something like that.
The Plaza, the fabulous Plaza Theater.
And so what they do is they have something called Fright Fest. And we went.
Well, actually, it's called Spook Show.
Spook Show.
I'm sorry, Spook Show. Right. And we went and saw Godzilla together. And it's really cool because they do like a little live performance on stage and had a guy dressed up as Godzilla. It's pretty irreverent. They have like a kiddie version during the day. And then when it gets dark, the adults come out to play. And they make it really, really R-rated and fun. And anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing Clash of the Titans. They'll probably have someone dressed as Medusa out there.
Well, let's make sure that's August 17th. So whenever you hear this,
It
if
might
that
be
date has
over.
gone by, it may be over. But it's at the Plaza Theater on Ponce in Atlanta.
And we're
10 p.m.
talking about
On a Saturday. That's
on
a
a
Saturday,
Saturday.
everybody. So
And we're talking about, of course, the honeymooners, and we need to kind of wrap it up here shortly. But one of everybody's favorite movies, I don't care who you are, was Smokey and the Bandit.
oh yeah.
Buford T.
Eastbound and
Justice.
Down.
That's right.
I saw that at the Starlight in 2007 at the Starlight, which is a local drive-in theater, and they played Gator and Sharky's Machine. But the crazy thing is, here's the punchline. It was sponsored by, I'm not going to mention the company, but a booze manufacturer, and they were giving out at a drive-in free samples of whiskey. This is
Well,
back in
that would be
2007. That
politically
wasn't the
correct
theaters
today.
doing, but they'd be responsible if something happened. Another factoid, not such a fun fact about the Starlight, someone got murdered there.
Well, we won't go into that. I mean, you know.
I mean, a
man.
patron just got shot to death. I'm sorry. Not to go
you're
dark,
you're
but
done. What,
I'm sorry.
When was it? Wait a minute. Stop. Wait a minute. When was this?
This happened probably 5 years ago. It was all over the local news here in Atlanta. Someone was shot. It was like road rage. It was like this guy got mad because someone was blocking his view of the screen, and he shot the guy dead.
I can't believe you guys are talking about this. Why are we talking about this?
We informed.
How pleasant.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't mean to go dark. All right, let's get back to Buford T. Justice,
Well, you know,
played by
it's-
Jackie Gleason.
You know what? I need to do what?
I'm gonna barbecue your ass.
Well, I need to do what he said he was going to do.
What, go to the bathroom like Chance just did?
No, this right
As soon
here.
as I get home, the first thing I'm gonna do is punch your mama in the mouth.
Go ahead.
Boom.
What a great clip.
Gosh, that
Come
hurt.
on.
And speaking of mothers, because that's what the clip was speaking of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not to bring it down again, but when Gleason was 19 years old,
Mm-hmm.
when his mother died, which was 1935, from sepsis, from a large neck carbuncle that Jackie Gleason tried to lance. Oh my God!
What?
Yeah,
I've never
that's what it
heard
says.
that
Yep,
before. Are you
it's right
sure?
Here.
Are
It's
you
right
sure
here.
about that?
Wikipedia does not lie.
Wikipedia
Okay?
does lie.
No, it does not lie.
You went in and changed that, didn't you, Tom?
Sarcasm, Al.
You know, Tom went in and changed that. He just did it on Wikipedia.
No, I didn't.
I know. Just kidding. But you know, one of the last great movies or funny movies that Jackie Gleason did was
Smokey and the Bandit.
What a great movie. You know, it's just like everybody, that's one of everybody's favorites.
Breaker to the Bandit.
Come on back, Breaker.
Bandit, I got a Smokey report for you. Come on.
Well, talk to me, good buddy.
You got trouble coming.
And what's your handle, son? And what's your 20?
My handle is Smokey Bear, and I'm tail grabbing your ass right now. What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law. This is Sheriff Buford T. Justice. I'm in pursuit of a black Trans Am. He's all mine, so stay out of the way.
Did you say you are a sheriff?
That's a Big Ten form. This is Sheriff Buford T. Justice of Jackson. That's very comforting, but I'm in a high-speed pursuit. Don't you hear, sir?
I hear perfectly. The fact that you are a sheriff is not germane to the situation.
This goddamn German's got nothing to do with it. What do you say? You gotta put shit in a time. This is Sheriff Buford T. Justice again. I lost that Trans Am. Set up a roadblock.
Did you see that? They went right through a roadblock.
You some bitches couldn't close an umbrella. Nobody.
Boy, what a great movie that was. Great movie.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks for listening. We appreciate you downloading the podcast, the Al and Chance Pop Culture Podcast with special guest star this week,
You know
Mr.
what we need
Tom
to do?
Williams.
We're going to make Tom a part of the show. How about that?
I agree. Tom, are you in?
Yes, I'm in. So what's the name of the podcast now?
Well, it's at the Al, Chance, and Tom
Podcast.
No. Need to change it.
How's that?
That
Well, why don't you
sounds
come up with a clever name?
Yeah, we'll come up with a clever name. That's it.
Well, we can do that. Tom's
The
good at
Basil Chesterman pod. No, I'm just kidding.
that. We can do that. Yeah.
And
But
remember,
anyway,
we've got some good shows coming up, so stick around. We're going to have all sorts of different topics related to pop culture, whether it's comic books, James Bond movies. I think it'd be a fun topic. But next time,
anytime you want to hear something about, about pop culture podcasting, check us out.
yeah, and actually make some requests too. Leave a comment. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about.
And again, thanks,
All right, now
Tom,
next time.
and thanks, Chance, and thanks, Sonny. He's down here on the floor.
Thank you, Al. And next time we're going to talk about the Munsters.
Later. Bye-bye. Well, that was our show. It was number 3.
Correct. And
And
the
we
next
recorded
week-
that back in
July
July
of 2019.
Actually,
my
it's
mic
one
is
of my
really
favorite
hot.
shows.
Oh, it is. Well, next
Wow.
week we're actually talking about the Q. Well, we'll reveal the topic.
Right.
We misspoke back then. We actually do have a Munster show we recorded. We'll get to that in the next week or so. But next week
Right.
is not what we're going to cover. We're not going to cover. We're back live at the Oxygen Financial Studios in Duluth. Phone number is 678-996-1776. That's 678-996-1776. And how I remember the number, I mentioned this previously, I always think of the 96 Olympics for the first 3 digits minus the 1, because our station is going to be number 1 in talk thanks to our weekday talent. I don't want anyone to be confused and think I'm being hubris and saying Al and I can be number 1. That's ridiculous. I'm saying our
We have a
superstars,
good time. Put it that way.
our
We have a good time.
superstars during the week are going to propel us to top in talk. But I want to say we sort of neglected Joyce Randolph in our Honeymooner segment, and she played Trixie, and she's still alive. She's the only surviving of the 4 original Honeymooners cast members.
Now, Audrey Meadows passed away in 1996, I believe it was,
She
right?
passed away February 3rd, 96. She was born February 8th, 1922 in New York, New York. Jackie passed away in June of 87, June 24th, 87.
How about Ed Norton?
That's Art Carney,
Art
who
Carney,
played Ed
yeah.
Norton. He died November 9th of 03, and he was born November 4th, 1918 in Mount Vernon, New York, and he died in Westbrook, Connecticut. But I also want to mention that tragic murder I talked about at the Starlight Drive-In, some facts on that. It happened May 15th, 2012. And what happened was the convicted killer His name is Quintric Williams. He shot a martial arts expert named Mitt Lennox, Lenix, to death. And all Mitt did was approach Mr. Williams for a jump start to his vehicle. And Mr. Williams, unfortunately, pulled the trigger and murdered him. And he was convicted of the felony aggravated assault felony murder and sentenced May 8th, 2013 by DeKalb County Superior Court Judge Gregory Adams. And he gave him the maximum sentence of life plus 25 with
I've never been to that drive-in.
with no parole. I have. And I saw Smokey and the Bandit there. I mentioned the pre-recorded segment in 07. And the crazy thing is there was a whiskey vendor there giving out free samples of whiskey at a drive-in.
You know, when I saw Smokey and the Bandit, I went to a premiere. I was working at Turner, and they had the premiere, the Atlanta premiere at the Tower Theater up on Cheshire Bridge Road. And so, Burt Reynolds was there, Dolly Parton was there, I was there, and it was great. I mean, it's just I'll never will forget that. I was invited there to the premiere, and so it was a great experience. And let's see here, we got somebody calling, Chance.
Oh, we have a call. Well, let's see. Hey,
hello, who is this?
Well, why am I hearing Monty Python and Flying Circus on the radio while I'm home? I don't understand that.
It's music. I don't know what it is.
Because that's weird that I'm hearing that theme song instead of the Pod Blast theme song.
That's our hold system, but when we move to our new studios in Woodstock, we should have that fixed, if not sooner. That's beyond our control.
Weird, huh?
The control voice of the Outer Limits.
That's
Can't
right.
fix that. Sorry.
But at least you're on the radio.
That's bizarre.
So this is Tom speaking. Obviously, he's someone we brought into the show this week.
I thought you were going to a wedding. Are you in Los Angeles, right?
I am. I'm in Los Angeles, and we're getting ready to leave here in a few minutes, but I was listening to the tail end of the podcast, and I figured I would call in and say hi, and what a great show.
Actually, it's one of my favorite shows, I guess because I like Jackie Gleason. I mean, I've always been a fan of his.
Yeah.
And like I said, all of us being film collectors at one time, I had some prints of it, but at least I have them on DVD. And,
well, yeah, because they all stink now.
well, yeah, they have what they call a vinegar syndrome. But it was a good show.
We want to thank CBS Paramount. They're the ones that are releasing the Classic 39 Honeymooners. In fact, I have a DVD set right here in Al Hardy's hands that I brought to the studio.
Yeah.
And the Kinescopes were released by MPI Home Video. And there's a great set. It's on sale on Amazon right now. It was released in 2011. It's the 60th anniversary edition. And it's on sale for $50. Normally retails for $130. It's fantastic.
And you got to leave that at my house today so I can watch some of them, right?
Unless you go to Goodwill and get it for $10 like I did.
Well, that's true. That's true. I was with you when you got those, but it's just like I paid when they first came out. I had to have it, so I paid retail price for it.
Tom, what's the weather like out there in LA? Is it typical sunny, beautiful, warm?
It's raining. It's been raining. It's supposed to rain this afternoon, and and it's funny because it never rains in Southern California. Ooh, that reminds me of the song. Hit it now.
Albert Hammond did that song. It never rains in Southern California. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the interesting thing is I'm going to the Hollywood Memorabilia Museum probably on Monday, and they've got all kinds of cool stuff. They got a Batman exhibit, and amongst many other memorable things. They got the full, the outfits that they wore, etc. And it's very cool. It's a shame you guys aren't along with me just so you can enjoy that.
Well, while you and Susan there in LA, you're going to bring some gifts back, correct?
Oh, sure, absolutely. What do you want?
I don't know. You can surprise me. That's what you can do.
Well, I was thinking about bringing you the P from the Paramount Gate.
Okay. I'll take it.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, you're probably hip to this. Have you heard of the show on HBO, McMillions? You familiar with that?
No, I have not.
All right. We'll talk about it offline. I've already mentioned it at the top of the show, but it's a documentary about the biggest scam that no one knows about, the McDonald's Monopoly game. And this relates to Georgia. The FBI investigated a family that rigged it. McDonald's was innocent, but there was a family that somehow got the $1 million pieces, and they were all related, and someone tipped off the FBI. There's something fishy going on here. It's a 6-part series, hour long each.
and it's on HBO right now, and it's fascinating. I've only seen part 1, but it really reels you in.
Is this a plug for HBO?
Wow.
I don't have HBO.
Well, it's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'll let you guys go. I know I don't want to keep up other callers. So good talking to you. Good to hear us all on the radio together, and we'll see when I get back.
Safe travels, Tom.
Thanks
See
for
you.
calling, bud. Bye-bye. Yeah, I don't, that thing on HBO, I wouldn't mind watching.
It sucks you in, dude. It's a fascinating story.
Well, you should record it, make me a copy of it.
On
on DVD,
Hey,
HBO
now
Max.
you know where the honeymooners lived? They lived at Chauncey Street, right? And that's where Jackie Gleason really grew up.
Oh, really?